everyone. How are you? Welcome to March's PIY in the free group. So I have out an 11 by 14 canvas. I have out actually my tracer, which I have not taped together yet. And then I printed an extra one of these and I cut it out, and I'm going to show you how we're going to use it. I'm going to do something a little bit different tonight. You know, we usually trace first, but tonight we're going to paint our background first. Okay? So let me turn you guys around. You hop on, say hi. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know how you're doing. It's been raining here all day, so it's nice to get in a little paint time. And we will get started. Here we go. There we go. All right, here's my 11 by 14 canvas. The first thing I'm going to do, and like you guys know, I rarely use a ruler. But I'm going to come down here and I'm going to measure up about 3 inches from the bottom, and I'm going to put a little line. The only time I use a ruler is actually when I'm doing like a tabletop like this, or a horizon line, something like that. Otherwise, you know me, I'm eyeballing it. So I have my T-square here, and I'm just going to put a line. Now this line is going to represent, this is going to be our table, this is going to be our wall in the back. Then I put my T-shirt back on my T-square, put that to the side. Okay, and we will get painting. So I have out a couple of blues and some white. Does that look, I don't know, I guess it's okay, right? So I have out baby blue, Bahama blue, and some white for our background. And I'm going to grab this, I guess this is about, no, that one's too big. This is about a 1-inch wide flat brush. It's a little wonky. I would only use this one for backgrounds. I wouldn't use it for trying to paint in anything that is detailed or has a fine edge to it. That's what I keep these wonky brushes for. Okay, we're going to paint our background with vertical stripes. We want to blend our blue and our white together. We don't want to overblend because we want to have a mixture of white and blues on the back. I'm going to leave my, move my paint out of the way. I'm going to leave my canvas upright, and I'm going to paint it this way from my shoulder. You may want to go like this and paint it sideways. When we paint sideways, our arm tends to windshield wipe and get a curve to it. So I would suggest keeping your canvas upright and pulling from your shoulder vertically up and down. Okay? And I'm going to load my brush with all these colors. Just went in for it. Crazy, dipping in the paints. And I'm going to start now with my background. And I went to the canvas, so blue, blue, white. And I go one way, and then I go back the other way. And then I go back, and then I go forward. And I'm constantly moving back and forth, left to right, over everything that I have just painted. We want things to blend, but we don't want to overblend. You want to see the variations of the blues and the white on the background of my canvas. So, and every time I go to my palette, I'm picking up every color on my brush. And if I keep my brush moving like this, the colors will, it's magic, you guys. The colors will pretty much stay separate in my brush as long as I continue to just do these vertical stripes the way I'm doing. So I'm picking up the blue, the baby blue, Bahama blue, and the white. So now I drew this line for the tabletop, but because we're going to do the bottom of our table or our tabletop in the brown family, you can go over the line. As long as you can still see it, you don't have to worry about being perfect and coming right along that line and worrying about having a straight edge. You can worry about having the straight edge when you actually do the tabletop. You don't have to worry about bringing the blue line in there, oh so perfect, and then bringing the brown line as well, oh so perfect, up to meet it. It's okay if you go over the line a little bit with your blue. And you can't see the whole thing, but I am moving my arm from up here in my shoulder. Back and forth, back and forth. I'm not over blending. Look at all that variation I have going on in the back of my canvas here. My brush doesn't hold enough paint to get down to the bottom here, so I'm just bringing it down and up. You can hear it, right? And then I'm just gonna make sure that I have the same colors in my brush. I'm gonna do my edges as well. You guys know how I feel about edges. I feel how I feel, and it's different every time. It's different with every project I do. Sometimes I wrap it around and it matches the front. Sometimes I leave it white, and sometimes I do something completely different and make a fun design. Okay, I have a couple of dry spots, so I'm just going to put a little bit more paint on my brush and get into these areas where I can see I didn't get full coverage. Okay, now I'm going to wash my brush. All right, I'm going to get out, let me get this, I'm going to get out some burnt umber. And a little bit of this fawn color, which is more of a tan. And we're going to do our tabletop. And now I am going to turn it. Oop. Look, that was on there. There we go. Fixed. Okay. Oops. I rinsed my brush. I'll dry it off a little bit on my raggedy towel over here. And then I'm going to load it with mostly the fawn color. And I'm just going to dip the corner in the dark brown. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the top part, except now we're doing it on the bottom, and we're going horizontal for our tabletop. I'm dipping in the fawn, I'm dipping a corner in the brown, and I'm coming in. So let's come up here, and I'm going to slowly follow my pencil line and paint in the edge of my table. Now we're going to let this dry. We're going to come back at some point and we're going to make more of the wood grain in our table and make it more of a faux wood finish. But for now we're going to have to let this dry. So we're just going to come in here and we're going to leave this be for now. Let this dry. Again, I'm doing my edges, wrapping around. Little tan. And I just want to have a little bit more of a dark texture in here for now. So I'm just going to dip in, and I want it to dry into there, but I want some darkness in here. I'm using my brush on the chisel edge. I don't want to put too much. Okay. All right. There we go. And I'm going to wash my brush. And I'm going to get my dryer now. So you guys know, I usually do my stuff around the design. We trace first, and then we go around our design. But tonight I'm going to show you another way to use the tracer, and we painted our background first. So I'm going to start the dryer, so just bear with me for 1 minute. Okay, I think that's good. Let me hang this back up. There we go. Okay, so like I said before, so this is the traditional tracer that we have. We would tape it together, line it up, tape it together, put it over our canvas, our background, slide the graphite paper underneath, and trace. There is another way to use our tracer though as well. And so I cut out the bottom part of the vase. I'm going to line it up down here. We want about 1 inch from the bottom. Okay, and I have a piece of chalk, and I'm going to draw around it. Now this is shorter because I cut it and I didn't hold it together and tape it together, but it works. I just extended the top part of the vase a little bit, and there we go. I have now outlined the bulb of our vase. And this is a little wonky, but when I come in to paint it, we will straighten it out. Okay? Then I'm going to use my chalk again, and I'm going to roughly draw in our 3 roses to begin with. They are roundish, but you want the edges to be not round and perfectly circular. Okay? We're going to put a tulip over here, and I'm just drawing a U in for the tulips. A tulip over here. A tulip, and these things might change, that's why it's good to have chalk. A tulip out there. And then we're going to have a daisy up in here, and a daisy here, and then these 5-petal flowers about here and there. And I'm just putting in the centers. Okay? And the chalk later will come right off when you're done painting and your painting's dry. You can either dip a paintbrush in water and just wipe off the chalk marks, or you can dip a little soft rag or a paper towel in some water, dampen it up, and the chalk marks will come right off. It's just important to make sure that your painting is 100% dry. Okay? All right. So now I'm going to put out some of this light pink that I have. I'm actually probably going to lighten it up a little bit too with some water. But right now this is flamingo pink, and it's about the lightest. I have some baby pink, but I couldn't find it. So I have my flamingo pink, and I have Juneberry. If you have pink and purple, if you have pink and fuchsia, use the colors. If you have white and purple, use the colors you have on hand. It's totally fine. Okay? And I'm changing it up all night tonight, you guys, because I'm even now getting out a round brush. Okay? So I'm going to pick up a little bit of white. I'm going to pick up some pink first. I'm going to pick up a little bit of my white, and I want to lighten up my pink. Okay? And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to paint in a circle my roses. When I get about far out as the edge as I can, then I'm going to use my brush and fill in the wonky edges. Okay? So there's the base of my first one. I'm going to pick up some more pink. Maybe I'll lighten it up some more. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. Stand my round brush up. I'm going to start painting in a circle. When I start getting out near the edges, then I'm going to use my brush and fill in the wonky shape of this rose. My edges get a little too dry. I'll just come and pick up a little bit more paint. Okay? And then maybe I'll use this one almost. I'm going to go right into my pink. I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm not cleaning my brush, but this one's going to be a little bit darker. I'm making a circle, 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 and then when I start getting towards the edges, I'm going to use my brush and make the odd edge shape of my flower. Okay, so now I have the base coat in here of all of my roses. Now we're going to go back. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this white, and now I'm going to go into my dark color here a little bit more. This is Juneberry. It's one of my favorite colors. I'll make sure I have a little bit of point even though I'm using a round brush. I'm going to start in the middle, and we're going to do these little C strokes. So I'm starting in the middle with those C strokes. Okay, pick up some more paint. And as I work my way to the outside, I'm putting a lot more pressure, and I'm squishing down my brush a lot more and bringing it around. Okay? Then I'm going to go back to just my dark color, and I'm going to do the same thing. C strokes in the middle, and then bring out my C strokes a little bit more around. And so we have multiple variations of the dark and the light, and we want the dark towards the middle. Okay? The important thing too is to not overblend and to not have your painting be completely, your flower be completely round. Do the same thing. I'm going to go back into this lighter dark color that I made. I'm going to round off the tip of my brush, and I'm going to start up in here with little C strokes. Pick up some more paint. And as I do the C strokes around the flower, I'm applying more pressure. I'm working my way out, even onto the edge. They're like apostrophes or commas or C's, and I'm working my way around. Okay? You don't want to overblend, and you don't want to cover up too much of the first layer. You want to be able to see the first layer as you're blending in and adding color. Now these can be a little tricky. You might have to do some practice on some scrap paper or in your multimedia book or whatever. But these make beautiful roses, and you can do them in various colors. We're actually going to be adding a yellow one at the end. And so if you have to practice a little bit. And then I'm going to come back into, let me just wipe off my brush a little bit. I'm going to come back into just the dark and add in the middle. I wiped off my brush. It was getting a little bit of paint buildup, and my dark wasn't as dark, so I wanted to add a little bit more dark to it. I wiped off all the light paint and went back into my brush, back into my paint rather, and started over. And I'm just making these little C strokes, working my way out. Sometimes when I do these, I work my way in, but you can work your way out. Okay, and there we have our first 3 roses. And I'm going to wash my brush. And put out some, need some yellow. It's always a good idea to mix your yellow with some white. Yellow tends to be a little translucent, but if you put some white in it, that helps to make it much more opaque. So I'm going to grab some fresh white over here, and I'm going to just come over here and add it into the side of my yellow puddle. Okay, I'm going to do our tulips. So the first thing with my tulip, I want to make an oval, a football shape, an eye shape, whatever you want to call it, for the center. And I'm going to do that for all 3. So that's the first stroke. I added a little bit of white to my yellow. And I'm just adding this leaf shape, this football shape, this oval shape, this whatever eye shape, whatever you want to call it. Okay? I'm going to come back to, I'm going to darken up my yellow a little bit now by just adding more yellow to my yellow and white mixture. I'm going to lay my brush down to the bottom next to the one part. I'm going to pull up, and then I'm going to straighten my brush up to a point. Okay? Watch again. I'm going to lay my brush down here over the center. I'm going to pull up, and as I paint and pull up, I'm twisting my brush, and I'm coming more up to a point. Okay? If you have to go upside down, I'll show you upside down. Lay down my brush, and as I come up, I'm pulling it into a point. Pick up a little more white, lay down my brush, and come up. Again, come down here, go slightly over, and then come to a point up top. And then we can come in, we can add in some highlights to the one petal if we want. Need some more white. Make it look like there's a whole nother petal in front here. Okay, and there we have the basis of our tulips. And I'm going to wash my brush. So we have in our background, we have our 3 main roses in, and we have our tulips. I'm going to go into our dark brown here, and I'm just going to paint in little circles for the centers of what's going to be our daisies up top. Okay? And then I'm going to take some of my tan from over here and some of my white, and I'm going to mix it. I want like a little bit of a creamy color for some of the petals on the background. And I have some blue in here, I'm not worrying about it. I just want this creamy color. The cream and the white are going to cancel that out. And I just want this creamy color for some of the petals on our daisy. Okay? So I'm going to start, when I do daisies, I do them like a clock. So I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm just going to start adding in these petals. So that would be at 12 o'clock. That would be at 3 o'clock. That would be at 6 o'clock. We want that one to go behind, or you may not. You may want this one to go over your tulip. In that case, you want your tulip to be dry. And we want that one at 9 o'clock for now. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Except this time I'm going to I'm still going to, in my head, do a clock. But this time I'm shaping it in a different angle. So this is going to be now my 12. This is going to be my 6. Oops. This is going to be my 3. This is going to be my 9. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to wash my brush. It's these floral paintings. You may be looking at it and being like, oh, no. Don't worry. It will all come together. Trust me and trust the steps, and it will all come together, okay? And wait till you see when we start adding the details and some highlighting. That's when your painting will really start to pop. So now I'm coming in for some fresh white. And we're going to add in these fresh white petals now to our daisy. This one up here is going to be prominent. It is in front. I don't want to go over my tulip, so I'm trying to avoid that. You might want to go over your tulip. If you don't love your tulip and you like your daisy better, you will want to go over your tulip. And that is okay. It's one of the tricks of the trade. You don't like something, add a leaf. Go over it. Add another flower. Whatever you want to do. And here again, I could put my daisy over my rose, but I don't want to. So I'm just painting it in there. Ooh. And then in here was our I'm just having this petal be right behind there. Okay, so now we have our daisies in there. And I'm going to go back to my brown. I'm not even going to wash my brush. And now I'm going to dot in my center. And I want my center to come over my petals a little bit. This then takes our petals and sets them back behind the center of our daisy. Okay, so I'm picking up the brown. I'm making my center a little bit bigger, and I'm dotting over where the petals attach to the center. And then it makes it look like our petals are in back. Okay? I'm going to wash my brush and get out a little bit of orange. Now these are more of a generic flower. I call them a 5-petal flower. I paint them in one stroke, but I paint them a little different in one stroke. They're basically like a filler flower. And in this case, we're going to make them orange. And we're going to add a little bit of white to our orange as well. So we have a more pale orange. And so our orange is a little more opaque because, like I said before, yellows oranges and reds tend to be quite translucent. Okay, I'm going to pick up some white. I'm going to come over here and mix it with some orange. I don't even want to really over mix. I want to see the variations and the striations in the paint. And I'm going to come in here, and I want this petal to be a little bit almost like a heart. Okay, so I'm going to come up, I'm going to come in, and I'm going to come down again with my petals. I'm going to come up, I'm going to dip in, I'm going to come down again with my petal. And so it's almost as if I'm drawing a heart. And then again. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to come up. It's almost like I'm loosely writing the letter M, but it's more of a heart shape. Let me pick up some more white. So our petals have a little indent in them and then come back down. This time I picked up a little bit more orange, so I want these to be a little bit more orange. Okay, I'm just going to wipe off my brush. I'm not going to clean it. I'm going to go into my fresh white, and now I'm going to pull from the inside up my petals towards the outside of the petals with my white paint. Just adding a little bit of brightness to the inside and going straight up out towards the petal. Pick up a little bit of white on the tip of my brush, and I'm pulling. Be careful of your angle. You want all these white strokes. Keep turning your board, your surface, whatever you're painting on, so the whites go straight out. Okay? And wipe off my brush again. We'll go into our brown and dot in centers. Okay. And rinse my brush again. Oh, got some yellow paint on there. Now, we're going to draw in some stems for our baby's breath. You can now switch to a liner brush, or you can continue to use your round brush. I'm just going over some paint. See? It's acrylic paint. You can fix anything. Must have put my arm in the paint. Okay, I'm going to switch to my liner brush. If you have a light touch, you can stick with your round brush. It is totally up to you. I'm going to wet my liner brush. It moves better. I'm going to get out some dark green. And we're going to add in the stems for our baby's breath. I'm going to need 2 greens anyway. Might as well get them out now. Okay. Okay, when I use my liner brush, I want to give it a nice twist. I want it to stay nice and pointed. Okay. And we're going, you draw baby's breath like and you guys know I like to draw trees. So you draw baby's breath as if you were drawing tree branches. You want to have some of them come angled off to the sides. Okay, we have one there. We're going to put one up here. very skinny lines, light touch, off on a Y. Okay, and just filling in there. And then we're going to put one down here. And yes, I am looking at the sample photo because this way it keeps everybody in the same place and they're not like, oh, but there was a baby's breath over there and it's over here now and whatever. Okay? So those are our sprigs for our baby's breath, and we're going to let them dry. Okay? And I'm going to go back to my round brush. Okay. I'm going to mix some of my dark green and some of my light green. Then I'm going to just dip in my dark green. And I'm going to do the first leaf down here. It's going to be one of the tulip leaves. I'm going to put a lot of pressure on my brush, scoop out, and then come to a point. So a lot of pressure, scoop out, and then come to a point. Now I just picked up a different color green. So we have some variation in there, make it a little bit more interesting. And there we have our first leaf. And do the same thing. This medium green that I made over here with the dark green and the light green, I'm going to pick up the dark green. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to put a lot of pressure. And then as I come down, I'm going to lift, 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 lift to a point. I'm going to pick up some of this light green. And I'm going to come in here and add it to that leaf. Okay? So we have our two leaves. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pick up the light green and the dark green. And I'm going to put a leaf up in here. So we're just drawing a simple leaf shape, and then we're filling it in. I'm going to put in some light green to it, some dark green to it. You just want it to be multiple greens and have some texture to it. Okay? Dark green and light green again. And we're going to add a leaf up here in front. And now this leaf is going to be on top of the jar. And then another leaf off to the side. And again, these are just the beginning stages of these leaves. We're going to go back, we're going to add some details, we're going to add a stem, we're going to add the veins. This is just us base coating in our leaves to get started with. And then I want to come and add in my stems. Okay, I'm going to make my brush pointed by twirling it. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pull our stems down into the jar. Could be a little fat up top. And then get a little thinner at the bottom. I'm picking up a little bit of this light green now to show some differences. And there are our stems all up in our vase. We want to add a little bit of the, I think it's a Acrylic that comes out the bottom of our tulips where they attach. And we have our stems. And I'm going to wash my brush. And let it dry. It's so cool. It's like building a puzzle. You work from the bottom up, adding your layers, adding in the next step, and you see it all come together. I'm putting out a little bit of fresh white. My brush got away from me. I'm going to use my round brush still. You can use whatever brush you're comfortable with. I'm going to dip it in the white, and I'm going to start pouncing in my baby's breath. And you can put as much baby's breath or as little baby's breath as you want. You want it in clusters. You want it to go over the stems, but not completely cover them. It can come out past the stems. Some are bigger, some are smaller. They're all different sizes. Go over your roses a little bit. Okay, and that's one cluster. Let me turn this around. And I'm not using the back of the brush. We don't want these to be perfect dots. It's baby's breath. Baby's breath this is abstract, but baby's breath are little tiny folds of flowers on the ends of these branches. And we're just putting this in there for filler. This is going to go over our tulip here a little bit. And we're just putting in some filler. And you can go as high or put as much on there as you want. It just makes it so light and airy. Just add in this baby's breath alone. Kind of just brings the whole thing together. We didn't even finish yet. We didn't even do our vase or finish the details on our leaves or anything. And just put this baby's breath in here, and it's almost as if your entire painting or arrangement is complete. And like I said, you can make these as full or as sparse as you want. I tend to be a bit of a minimalist. And there, look how pretty that is. Loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it. Okay, now I'm going to get a nice point on my white, and we're going to come in and I'm going to follow the line of my vase and start tracing in or painting in the outside of my vase. Nice fresh white, nice point on my brush. I'm doing it in pieces. I want my white to be nice and bright and fresh. And I'm working my way down to the bottom. Okay. I'm going to do this side a little bit again. Okay, and at the bottom we want it to be a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to swish and work my way up until my brush gets a little dry. We want our white opaque, and then we just want it to be a glare at the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing on the sides. Now I want the sides to be as even as possible, even though my tracer wasn't completely even to begin with. I'm going to try and do better when I paint it in. And I think I did a decent job. Okay? Okay. So again, I'm going to come in here, wipe off my brush a little bit. Almost dry brushing. I'm pulling in some of the white from where I put the side in, because that was a little thick. And just wiping off my brush and cleaning it up. and that gives us a nice glare. I'm going to pick up some white. I'm going to wipe it off on the side of my plate. And then I'm going to come in here lightly and dry brushing and add in glare and rounding in our vase. Again, picking up some white, picking it up, wiping it off, and coming in here. Now we don't want to go over our leaves, but we do want to go over our stems. Our stems are in the jar, our leaves are outside of the jar. If you do get some over your leaves, we'll go back in and fix that. Ooh. And you want to just curve them in there and give the illusion that it's glass, an illusion that it's round and curved. Okay, rinse. So while we wait for most of this up here to dry and whatnot, we're going to go back down to our wood. All right, I'm going to put out a little bit of black, just a little bit. A couple of dots. I just want to darken up my brown here a little bit. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scrub back and forth. I don't want to get it on my vase, but I want to put a shadow in here. A little dark, out to the sides. So where our vase is sitting on the table, it's created a shadow. Okay, I'm going to go back to my liner brush. And if you're happy with your table the way it is and you don't want to add anything to it, you don't have to. It's up to you. Okay. But I'm going to go into the dark color and the brown that we created. And I'm going to make like boards. Like our table is a few boards put together. So I'm going to make these nice horizontal lines. Across, almost like our table is planked. And then you can add some knots to your wood if you want. Up to you. That's just a series of little ovals, and they trail out. You can do some highlights with some white. You can go back into the tan and do some tan lines. You can even do tan knot in the wood if you want. Whatever. You can do whatever you want on your table. It's your table, it's your art. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to mix some of my light green here with my dark green. I want to make a medium, but I want it to be more on the light side. And I'm going to add in some stems. Okay? Okay. Then I'm going to add in the little veins. Okay. And then last but not least, I'm going to go back to my round brush. I'm going to scoop up some white. I'm going to add it over here to my orange. And we're going to put in our orange rose right here in the middle. So I just went for it. Okay? And I'm going to pick up my orange, and now I'm going to make the outside of it uneven. And I'm going to get some yellow in here with my orange, just to have a variety and a variation in color. If you want to use straight orange, you can. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to add in my first layer of petals. I went back and I picked up fresh yellow, because I couldn't really see that toned down yellow that I made. Alright, and then I am going to get a little bit extra orange. Wipe off my brush. Go into the fresh orange and do exactly what we did last time. Work our way from the outside with the fresh orange. Wash my brush again. And I'm going to go back to my liner brush. And I'm going to get our darkest purple, this Juneberry that we used before. And I want to add a cluster to the centers of my roses. Okay. I'm going to get my orange. I want to add a cluster to the center for my orange one. I'm going to wash it. And then I want to get some fresh white and highlight in all my centers with some nice fresh white. I don't want to put too much in our roses, because I want them to be the color. You just want a few little highlights in the centers of the roses. Put a couple little highlights on my leaves, and then the stems, and that's it. I think we're gonna call this one done. So There you go. So pretty. Thank you for joining me for March's painting of the month. Have a great night, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I would be happy to answer. Have a great night, everyone.